So we are discussing unit 3, that is control flow and functions. The topic explained is iteration, statements and unconditional statements. So the objective of learning this topic is to know about the concepts of iteration or the looping statements as well as the unconditional statements. So first let us know about iteration or the looping statements. An iterative statement allows us to execute a statement or group of statements multiple times. So repeated execution of a set of statements is called iteration or looping. So a particular set of statements keeps on repeating, so that statements are called as looping statements or iterative statements. So types of iterative statements are while loop, for loop, nested loop. Okay, we have three types of loops: while loop, for loop, nested loop. So first we will see about while loop. A while loop executes a block of statements again and again until the condition gets false. So the while keyword is followed by the test expression and a colon. So following the header is an intended body. So this is a syntax for the while loop. So while expression, then true statements. So the expression is the condition which is checked while the executing the program. Okay. So a condition is checked in the case of while statement. If the condition is true, then the statements keeps on executing. If the condition is false, then it will exit from the loop. Let us see the flow chart for this while loop. So as soon as it enters into the while loop, the test expression is checked. Okay, so if the test expression is true, then the body of the while loop keeps on executing until this text expression becomes false. If this condition or the test expression becomes false, it will exit from the loop. Okay, so let us see some examples. The first example given is write a Python program to print the first 100 natural numbers. Okay, so for this we are going to use the while loop. So in order to use this while loop, we need a iterating variable. Okay, so that iterating variable we are taking it as I. Okay, so we can use other variables also. So generally we take I as a iterating variable. Okay, so I is equal to 1. First we are initializing this I variable as 1. Okay, so we are giving the condition as I is less than or equal to 100, because we are going to print only the first 100 natural numbers. So when this variable comes to 100 equal to 100, then this have to exit from the loop. Okay, so that is our condition. So we are giving the condition inside this while loop. So while I less than or equal to 100, then we are going to print. So until this value, that is I value, is less than or equal to 100, this I value should be printed. Okay, so this next step is I is equal to I plus 1. This I is equal to I plus 1 statement is the incrementing statement. Okay, we are incrementing the value of I. Okay, so that is the incrementing statement. So when for considering this I is equal to 1, then while 1 is less than or equal to 100, we are checking the first condition as 1 is less than or equal to 100. So then if this condition is true, so we are going to print I, that is I value is 1. So first we are going to print 1, then I is equal to I plus 1, that statement will be executed. So which is the incrementing statement. So now the I value is 2. Okay, so that is I plus 1, 1 plus 1, 2. Okay, so now I value is 2. Okay, then we are again iterating this loop. Okay, so while I is equal to 100, we are checking that with I is less than or equal to 100, that is while 2 is less than or equal to 100. Okay, this condition is also true. So we are printing I value, that is 2. So actually we have printed 1, then now 2. Okay, then we are incrementing I's value as 3. Okay, so then we are checking 3 is less than or equal to 100. Yes, true. So we are printing 3. Then we are incrementing. So I value is 4. Now it is incrementing to 4. Then we are checking 4 is less than or equal to 100. Yes, true. So again it goes and incrementing I value. So it keeps on changing. So this iterating value keeps on incrementing, and this condition is checked until this value becomes 100. So when I value is 100, So, the condition is checked as 100 less than or equal to 100, but when this less than becomes false, but it is equal to 100. So, this becomes true. So, again 100 is printed. Okay. So, then it is incremented as I is equal to 101. So, now again it is checked 101 less than or equal to 100. So, this condition becomes false. Okay. So, when this condition becomes false, it comes out of the loop. Okay. Then until that we have printed all the numbers. So, that will be the result. So, the result is till 1 to 100 will be printed. Okay. So, in the case of example 2, it is given as write a Python program to find the factorial of n numbers. So, we know that n factorial is equal to n into n minus 1 factorial. That is, suppose if you are taking for a factorial for 5, then we will get as 5 into 4 factorial. So, if for 4 factorial, 4 into 3 factorials, for 3 factorial 3 into 2 factorial. Okay, so it goes on like that. So, this is how we are going to find the factorial of a given number. Okay, so n is equal to int of input of enter the number. So, that statement is the getting input from the user. This statement is getting input from the user. Okay, so this when the display in the display it will be given as enter the number. So, the user will give a number. Okay, that will be taken as an integer value. So, only we have given int there. So, integer value and it will be stored in the variable n. Okay, so, n is equal to integer of input of enter the number. So, related to this example we are giving the number as 5. Okay, so, n value is stored as so 5 is stored in the n value. Okay. So, I is equal to 1, we are initializing the variable, iterating variable. Already we have told that while loop has a iterating variable. So, I is equal to 1. So, factorial also, fact is equal to, we are giving another variable fact that is equal to 1, we are initializing the fact as 1. Okay. So, now while loop, so while condition is checked as I is less than or equal to n. Okay, because factorial value we are going to check till I value is 5. Okay, that is n value is 5. So, we are giving till 5. Okay. So, we are checking that if 1 is less than or equal to 5. Okay, condition true or false, 1 is less than or equal to 5, condition is true. Okay. So, then we are entering into the loop. So, fact equal to fact star I. So, that is now I value is 1, fact value is 1. So, fact equal to 1 star 1. So, we will get the fact is equal to 1 will be stored. Okay. So, 1 will be stored in fact. So, then we are incrementing the I variable. So, I is equal to I plus 1. Now, I value is 2. Okay. So, I value is 2, fact equal to 1. So, again we are going to check the condition. So, we are checking the condition 2 is less than or equal to 5, condition is true, right. So, fact value we have 1 now. So, again fact equal to 1 into how much, 2, I value is 2. Okay, so 1 into 2 will have 2. So, 2 will be stored in fact now. Then I value is incremented as 3. Okay, and fact value will be 2. So, then again iterating variable. So, fact is equal to fact star I, that is 2 star 3. So, we will get as 6. We will get the value as 6. So, I is equal to then incrementing. So, we are getting I value as 4. Okay, so then fact equal to continuing that process. So, 6 star 4. So, we will get as 24. So, 24 will be stored in the fact. Now, again this looping will be going. So, incremented I value will be incremented to 5. Then we will get fact equal to 24 into 5, which will get as 120. Then I value is incremented. So, I value will be 6. Then we are going to check the condition 6 less than or equal to 5. This condition becomes false. So, we will coming out of the loop. Okay, then we are printing the factorial is which value will be stored in the fact, that answer will be returned here. Okay, so 120 is stored in the answer. So, we will be printing that. So, the factorial is 120. So, this is how this factorial program gets executed. Let us see about for loop now. The for loop is used to iterate a sequence of elements, that is a list, a tuple, a string. It may be any one of the elements for a specified number of times. Okay. So, for loop in Python starts with the keyword for and followed by an arbitrary variable name. So, this arbitrary variable name is important here, which holds its value in the following sequence object. Okay. So, syntax is given as for iterating variable in sequence and then the statements that follows. Okay. So, this is the flow chart for the for loop. So, there is when this decision box is given here to find whether the last item is reached. If that last item is from the sequence is reached, then it comes out of the loop. Okay. So, until the last item is reached, this loop will get executed, and when this last item in the sequence is reached, then it will exit the loop. Let us see some examples. So, the first example given here is for letter in Python, that is Python is given in double quotes, so it is a string. Okay. So, we are finding a letter in Python. Okay. So, that is in the string Python. So, if it is letter is in the Python, then we are going to print the current letter is, the letter will be printed here. So, our destination is to print each letter from the string Python. Okay. So, when the first letter, loop iteration, so we will get as this p will be retrieved. Then in the second case or second loop iteration, we will get the second letter, then third, then fourth, then fifth, then sixth. So, p, y, t, h, o, n, we will get all the letters one by one, it will be retrieved. Okay. So, in the example 2, it is given a list. So, the list value contains three elements, that is apple, orange and mango. So, for f in fruit, so f is the variable here, iterating variable. So, f in fruit. So, we are printing the first element in the fruit list. Okay. So, we are going to print that first element. The current fruit is, the first element is apple. So, the current fruit is apple will be printed. Then second one, then third one, that is orange and mango will be printed. And after completing that, we have said that it comes out of the loop. So, out of the loop, when it comes out of the loop, we have another statement to print, that is end of for. Okay. That is indicating that the for has end. Okay. So, that will be printed, end of for will be printed. Okay. So, now we are moving to the nested loop. So, in the case of nested loop, it is two for variables will be nested together, or a while loop will be nested within a for loop. Okay. So, in this case, we call it as nested loop. So, Python programming allows using one loop inside another loop, while one while loop inside another for loop, or a for loop another inside another while loop. Okay. For example, using a while loop or a for loop inside another while loop or a for loop. Okay. So, syntax is for iterating variable in sequence, for iterating variable in sequence, that is the second for is inside the first for. Okay. We have the inner loop statements is for the second for, and the outer loop statement is for the first for. Okay. Now, let us see about the unconditional statements. So, these unconditional statements are used in a situation where we need to exit the loop completely when an external condition is triggered, or need to skip a part of the loop. Okay. So, in such situation, the Python provides unconditional statements. So, types of unconditional looping statements are, that is break statement, continue statement and pass statement. So, okay. So, break statement, in the case of break statement, a break statement terminates the current loop and it transfers the execution to statement immediately following the loop. Okay. The break statement is used when some external condition is triggered. The syntax will be just a break. This is the flow chart related to the break statement. So, first let us see the example for this break statement. Okay. So, given example has a for loop, that is for letter in Python. So, we are checking a letter in Python, that is a string Python. Okay. So, if letter equal to h, when the letter in this loop comes to equal to h, then we are saying to break and print the letters, and then also print by. Okay. So, first the letter is p, so that will be printed, then second letter will be equal to y, then that will be printed, then third letter will be t, then it also will be printed. When this next letter, that is h equal to h comes, we are saying it to break. Okay. So, that loop will be broken and the output will be printed. Okay. So, p, y, t will be printed, and the final stage what will be, by will be printed. Okay. So, that will be represented in this flow chart. Okay. So, this loop will be checked, executed until this condition is true. When it comes to break, it becomes false and comes out. Okay. Now, let us see about continue statement. So, this continue statement returns the control to the beginning of the loop statement. Okay. The continue statement then rejects all the remaining statements and moves back to the top of the loop. Okay. The syntax is only continue here. So, let us see an example for letter in Python, same example, if letter is equal to H, we are continuing here, there we are breaking, here we are continuing. So, P will be printed, Y will be printed, T will be printed. When this condition, that is a string letter is H equal to H, then we are saying to continue, we do not need to print it, we are going to continue. So, P by T O N will be printed. Okay, so, this is the flow chart for the continue statement. Then we are moving to the pass statement. A pass statement is a null operation and nothing happens when it is executed. So, it can be used when a statement is required syntactically, but the program requires no action. So, the syntax is just we are giving to pass. So, in the same example, we are introducing the pass instead of the break and continue. So, see, so the example, the string Python will be entered as such because it does not do any action there, just when it requires a syntactically we require a statement, we give this pass state. Okay, so these are the questions which could be asked related to this topic. Thank you.